Ryan Hale was an ordinary human engineer working on an alien world called Thalora, a planet of bright skies, tall silver towers, and crystal rivers. Humans were few here, only guests invited to help maintain the energy grids and machines that powered the great cities. Ryan liked to keep to himself. He enjoyed quiet work, away from the busy alien palace where rules and ranks meant everything. He thought this job would be peaceful, but fate had other plans for him. That evening, the sun of Thalora shone like gold fire through the palace gardens. Ryan was repairing a power line near a large marble fountain when he heard something unusual: small, hurried footsteps and the faint sound of someone breathing fast. He turned slowly, expecting a worker or servant. Instead, he saw a little alien girl, no taller than his shoulder, hiding behind the fountain. Her skin was pale blue, glowing softly in the light. A silver mark ran down her forehead like a crown. She wore a torn robe of white silk, once fine but now dirty with dust. Her big eyes shimmered like stars filled with tears. She looked frightened, glancing left and right as if running from someone. When she saw Ryan, she gasped but didn't move. Her hands shook, clutching the edge of the fountain. Ryan knelt carefully, keeping his voice calm. "Hey there," he said gently. "You okay? Are you lost?" Before she could answer, loud voices echoed through the gardens. The heavy sound of boots followed. Guards, maybe 10 of them, all tall and dressed in silver armor. Their long spears glowed at the tips, and their leader's deep voice barked orders. "Search every corner. The princess cannot leave the palace." The little girl froze. Her eyes widened, and her small fingers clutched Ryan's tool belt as if begging for help. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Don't tell them I'm here." Ryan looked at her closely. Princess. That meant this small, frightened child was the heir to the alien throne, the daughter of the Empress herself. He didn't know what had happened, but it was clear she was running from her own guards. Ryan could have stepped aside, could have called for help, but something in the girl's eyes stopped him. She looked so scared, so alone. The guards came closer, their footsteps heavy on the stone path. Ryan stood up slowly and stepped in front of the fountain, blocking the girl from view. The captain saw him and frowned. "Human engineer," he said coldly. "We are searching for someone. Have you seen anyone come through here?" Ryan met his gaze calmly. "Just me," he said simply. His voice was steady, his posture relaxed but strong. The guard captain didn't believe him. He took a step forward, his spear humming softly. But then he stopped. There was something about Ryan's eyes, and quiet but firm, like a man who wouldn't be pushed. It was strange for them to feel hesitation before a human. Thalorans were tall, powerful, and proud, yet in that moment none of them dared to take another step. "I'm only fixing the grid," Ryan added. "You're free to look around, but you'll have to wait until I'm done. This system is delicate. One wrong move and the power to half the palace goes out." The captain hesitated. He had orders to find the princess quickly, but the human's tone carried quiet certainty. The guard shifted uneasily. Ryan didn't look afraid. He looked like someone who had faced worse and didn't care about titles or rank. The silence stretched. Finally, the captain turned to his team. "Search the other side," he ordered, pretending to stay in control. "This place is clear." Ryan didn't move until their footsteps faded into the distance. Only then did he crouch down again. The little alien girl peeked from behind him, tears still glimmering on her cheeks. "They would have taken me away," she whispered. You helped me." Ryan gave a small smile. "You seemed like you needed it. But who are you really?" She hesitated before speaking. "I'm Princess Lyra," she said quietly. "Daughter of the High Empress. They said I must go far away to another world because it's not safe here. But I don't believe them. I heard them talking. They want to send me away forever." Ryan didn't know what to say. A runaway alien princess was far beyond anything in his job description. But he could see her fear was real. She wasn't lying. Her hands trembled, and she kept glancing toward the garden gate. Somewhere in the palace, alarms began to ring softly. He sighed. "All right, Princess Lyra. Looks like you've got yourself in trouble." He looked around, making sure no one else was near. "If you stay here, they'll find you. Come with me. I know a place to hide." Her eyes widened again. "You would help me? Even though I'm not human?" Ryan nodded. "Doesn't matter what you are. You're a child. Where I'm from, that's reason enough." The princess looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay, I trust you." Ryan quickly gathered his tools and guided her toward a narrow path leading away from the garden. The palace had hundreds of maintenance tunnels under it, small routes known only to engineers and workers. As they entered the dim tunnel, the sound of alarm bells grew louder above. Lyra followed close behind, her small hand gripping the back of his shirt. The tunnel walls glowed faintly with blue light. Ryan moved quickly but carefully, checking every turn. He could hear distant footsteps echoing in the tunnels behind them. The guards were spreading their search. "Why are they chasing you?" Ryan asked quietly as they walked. "What happened?" Lyra's voice shook. "Someone tried to hurt my mother. They said humans were to blame. The council told her to send me away to keep me safe, but I overheard the guards. They said the ones guarding me would never let me come back. They were lying to my mother." Ryan frowned. "So someone inside the palace wants to take you away for good?" She nodded, tears filling her eyes again. "I just wanted to see the stars one last time before they took me. I ran, and now they'll punish anyone who helps me." Ryan stopped walking. "Then we make sure they don't find us. Come on." They reached a small maintenance chamber filled with old machines and storage crates. Ryan found a corner where the light didn't reach and motioned for her to hide there. "Stay quiet," he said. "I'll make sure they don't come close." The princess looked at him, fear and gratitude mixing in her young eyes. "You're brave, human." Ryan gave a small grin. "Not brave, just doing what's right." Above them, the palace trembled as ships began to patrol the sky. Lyra sat beside him, watching as he worked on an old control panel to block scanners from detecting their heat signals. His calm movements seemed to make her calmer too. For the first time since she ran away, she felt safe. Meanwhile, in a tall tower high above the city, an old alien general watched security footage of the human engineer standing between the princess and the guards. The general leaned back and whispered to his aide. "He didn't even raise a weapon, yet our soldiers froze. Humans are dangerous in a quiet way. They don't need power. They only need will." Back in the tunnel, Ryan looked down at the little princess who had trusted him without question. She had curled up beside a crate, her small face peaceful now. He covered her with his jacket and sat beside her, keeping watch. The hum of machines filled the silence. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, punishment, exile, or worse, but none of that mattered now. For tonight, his only job was to protect her. Outside, the twin moons of Thalora rose over the shining city, and somewhere deep in the palace, the Empress was already giving an order that would shake both their worlds. "Find my daughter, and bring me the human who hides her." Ryan closed his eyes for a moment and whispered, "Guess I'm in it now." Then he looked at the sleeping princess beside him and added softly, "Don't worry, kid. They'll have to go through me first." And as the night wind whispered through the tunnels, even the guards above hesitated to search too deep, as if something unseen told them the human below was not to be disturbed. Morning light poured over the golden towers of Thalora. The whole royal city was tense. Alarm banners flashed on every street. Soldiers filled the skies in shining ships. The Empress had given one order that echoed through every corridor. "Find my daughter. Bring the human alive." Ryan Hale woke before the princess did. He had spent the night half awake, sitting beside her as she slept under his jacket. The dim blue light of the tunnel made her small face look peaceful, but he could hear the distant hum of patrols outside. His time was running out. He quietly adjusted the broken control panel that jammed scanners. The screen flickered with soft sparks. He hoped it would hide them for a few more hours. The little princess stirred and opened her bright eyes. "Did they find us?" she whispered. Ryan shook his head. "Not yet, but they're close. We need to move before they track this signal." She rubbed her eyes and nodded bravely. For such a young child, she didn't complain. She followed him as he packed his tools into a small bag. "Where will we go?" she asked softly. Ryan thought for a moment. "There's an old outpost on the edge of the city, abandoned for years. If we can reach it, they'll lose our trail. Then I'll find a way to send a message to your mother myself." She looked at him unsure. "You would talk to the Empress? If it means keeping you safe, yes." He gave a small smile. "Besides, I fix machines. Maybe I can fix misunderstandings too." The princess smiled faintly, and for the first time since the night before, she looked less afraid. They walked through the tunnels, moving from shadow to shadow. Ryan knew the underground network well. He had repaired its power lines many times, but every corner now felt dangerous. Guards were searching every sector, and drones hovered outside the vents, scanning for heat. When they finally reached the exit hatch, Ryan peeked through the slit. A soft rain fell outside, making the metal streets shine. The outpost he mentioned was about 3 kilometers away. He lifted the hatch slowly, letting the cool air in. "Stay close to me," he said, "and don't look back." The princess gripped his hand tightly. Together they stepped out into the open city. The rain washed the dust from her silk robe, revealing the royal emblem stitched at its edge. Ryan tore off the corner quickly and stuffed it into his pocket. "That mark will get us caught," he said quietly. She nodded. They moved through narrow alleys, hiding behind tall crates and market stalls. The people they passed looked away. No one dared interfere in royal matters. But everyone had heard the rumor. The human engineer was protecting the princess. Some whispered that he had faced the guards and they couldn't move. Others said even the Empress feared him now. Ryan ignored the looks. He focused on keeping Lyra safe. His heart pounded, but he walked calmly so she wouldn't panic. Every now and then she glanced up at him with quiet trust, the kind that made him forget his own fear. By noon, they reached the edge of the city. The old outpost stood beyond a dry field half buried in dust. It had once been used by engineers like Ryan before the new palace was built. He opened the rusted door with his old access card and guided Lyra inside. The air was stale, but it was safe, for now. "Sit here," he said, giving her a blanket he found in a locker. "I'll get the generator running. It'll give us some light." Lyra sat on the floor, hugging her knees. "You're not afraid of them, are you?" she asked softly. Ryan smiled while fixing the wires. "Fear's just noise in the mind. You learn to turn it off when people depend on you." A faint hum filled the room as lights flickered on. But before they could relax, the sound of approaching engines rumbled outside. Ryan's expression hardened. He turned off the lights instantly. "They found us," he whispered. Lyra looked toward the door, her eyes wide. "What will you do?" "Stand still," Ryan said calmly. "And trust me," the door burst open. A squad of armored guards surrounded the building, their weapons glowing. The captain from the night before stepped in. His voice echoed coldly. "Human engineer, surrender the princess." "You are surrounded." Ryan stood near the center of the room, facing them without fear. "She's safe with me," he said. "If you want her, call her mother here." "I'll only speak to the Empress," the captain hesitated. Rumors about this human's calmness had spread overnight. None of them wanted to face him directly. His eyes were steady, and though he carried no weapon, something about his presence made even trained soldiers uneasy. "You are in no place to make demands," the captain growled. Ryan took a slow step forward. "Then fire," he said quietly. "Show your princess what loyalty looks like when it turns blind." The guards froze. The princess peered from behind Ryan, her small voice trembling. "Please don't hurt him." The silence grew heavy. And then from above, a sharp beam of light cut through the gray clouds. A royal hovercraft descended, its silver wings spreading wide. The Empress of Thalora herself had come. Every guard dropped to one knee as the hovercraft doors opened. The Empress stepped out, tall, graceful, her crown glowing faintly in the rain. Her eyes burned with power but softened when she saw her daughter safe. "Lyra," she called out. "Come to me, child." Lyra ran forward but then stopped halfway, glancing at Ryan. "He saved me, Mother. He didn't let them take me." The Empress looked at the human. "You protected her even when it risked your life." "Why?" Ryan stood firm. "Because she was scared," he said simply. "Because she's a child. Where I come from, that's enough reason." The Empress studied him silently. Around her, the guards waited for her signal. She could have ordered his capture, but something in his tone made her pause. Humans were strange, fragile yet unyielding. "She trusted you," the Empress said softly. "Even when my own guards frightened her." Ryan nodded. "Sometimes power looks different to children. They see truth before fear." The Empress lowered her head slightly. "You speak with wisdom, human. And you've done what few would dare. You stood between my daughter and my throne's command." Ryan didn't answer. He only looked at Lyra, who stood between them, smiling through her tears. "You're safe now," he said quietly to her. Lyra ran to him and hugged him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'll never forget." The Empress watched them for a moment, then gave an order. "Stand down," she told the guards. "No one touches him." Every soldier obeyed instantly. The air felt lighter, as if the entire planet had taken a breath of relief. Ryan looked at the Empress once more. "Take care of her," he said simply. That's all that matters, the Empress nodded. And you, human, will be remembered. Not as a worker, but as a protector. He gave a small nod and turned to leave. Rain fell softly as he walked away from the royal outpost. None of the guards dared stop him. They stepped aside, heads bowed, silent in respect. From the hovercraft window, Lyra watched him go. Her small voice carried through the rain. Goodbye, Ryan. I'll tell them what you did. I'll make sure they remember. He lifted a hand slightly without turning. Be brave, princess. The hovercraft rose into the sky, carrying the royal family home. Ryan stood alone under the gray clouds, the field stretching wide before him. He knew life would never be the same, but somewhere deep inside he smiled. He had done what he believed was right, and sometimes that was enough to change worlds. That night, the story spread across Thalora. They called it the day the humans stood still. People whispered that when the little princess hid beside him, even the royal guards didn't dare move. And in the halls of the palace, the Empress looked at her daughter asleep beside her and whispered to herself, perhaps humanity's strength is not in power, but in kindness. Far away in the quiet outskirts, Ryan looked up at the twin moons of Thalora.